Good evening. Welcome to the, it's still February. Yep, February 27th, Health and Human Services Committee. Is there anybody from the public that would wish to address the committee? Seeing none, is there any changes to last committee meeting's minute? Seeing none, we'll go into the resolution.
First resolution this afternoon, or actually evening now, appointing members of Jefferson County Office of Aging Advisory Council.
Have a motion, please. Mr. Nabawanek, second Mr. Dodo. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Next, appointing member to the Community Services Board.
A motion, please. Mr. Drake, second Mr. Ferris. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Next is amending the 2018 county budget to reappropriate funds and accepting additional 2018 funding for Veterans Peer Support Pilot Program.
Motion, please. Mr. Ferris, second Mr. Dodo. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Amending the 2018 county budget to allocate additional state aid for community services and mental health programs.
A motion, please. Mr. Nabawanek, second Mr. Ferris. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Amending the 2018 county budget to allocate additional state aid for community services programs and authorizing amended agreements in relation thereto.
A motion, please. Mr. Ferris, second Mr. Dodo. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Next, calling on the Office of Alcoholism and Substance Abuse Services and the Governor of the State of New York to provide state funding to support the treatment and transition services to individuals with substance abuse disorders who are incarcerated in county jails.
Mr. Nabawanek, second Mr. Dodo.
Roger, if you don't mind, maybe just take a moment to kind of explain what's about. This is an important new initiative, so it might be of value if you could get a quick clarification.
I believe this came from the NISAC conference.
That's true, it did.
Actually, the Conference of Mental Hygiene Directors, which is our state agency, has also been working on this, and this resolution was submitted to every county with the request that they have the county's legislatures approve it so that they can present that to the state along with any other testimony to get state funding. We used to have state funding in the jail. That was discontinued about 15 years ago by the Office of Alcohol and Substance Abuse Services. And I think in reaction in part to the opiate issues that we're facing now, they are, we're really hoping that they reinstate funding so that we can provide those services within the jail. Now, in our county, we're lucky in a way because we have a social worker who currently works in the jail who also has a credential in alcohol and substance abuse counseling. So she's able to do evaluations for the court and make referrals to inpatient programs and outpatient programs as well. But should she leave, we would not necessarily be able to replace her with someone with the same credentials unless we had some OASIS funding. So, and I did contact the sheriff and let her know that even with passing this doesn't necessarily mean that we would tap into these resources. We probably will, but we would have to have some discussions about how much we could use and logistically how many counselors can we put in the jail at any given time. So that's a discussion we'll have, hoping if this funding is approved by the state.
Do you have any ideas on numbers of peoples that could be impacted by this program?
A lot. I think we figure about 50% of the inmates are certainly individuals who could use some treatment resources, and educational resources would be even higher than that. Just as our mental health services are, we could always use additional mental health counseling as well as chemical dependency counseling, and usually they go hand in hand. So, this would be an opportunity for us to really have an impact on some of the individuals before they get released. and get them into some programming as they transition out.
Any questions for Roger? Mr. Doldo?
So, do they necessarily go into treatment as part of a court order, you're saying? Is this something different than the court order, or?
Not all inmates are ordered upon release to go into treatment. It may be part of their probation requirements if they're on probation, but not all inmates are on probation when they leave the jail as well. So it could be any, and it could be voluntary. I mean, there are people who find themselves in jail and realize that it has something to do with their chemical use. So they take advantage of these kinds of services if they're available. So that, and it's important if we start working with someone in that facility that we at least give them the opportunity to transition into outpatient services in the community, if not residential. And I certainly think that weighs on how the court handles their case following their discharge.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Roger.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on the resolution? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Accepting donations on behalf of the Department of Social Services.
Motion, please. Mr. Ferris. Second. Mr. Drake. Any discussion? Mr. Ferris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Where does that come from? Is this
Fort
from the
Drum.
transfer site?
Most of the stuff is out of Fort Drum.
Okay.
And Fort Drum's trying diligently to repurpose, if you will, a lot of the materials that are out there that go through a reuse cycle because of the constant change in soldiers coming and going. And days gone by, again, part of the bigger concept of recycling, this stuff went off to the dump, and it's a new attempt. DANC has been working on it, but they contacted Social Services, and they're doing similar things for other agencies, but ultimately it's Fort Drum.
What? Good. Okay. Mr. Doldo.
So these are sitting at DSS and they're distributing them, or how does this program work?
Well, they end up. Good question. You're asking the mechanic.
No, that's okay.
Teresa, would you?
I didn't know Teresa was here. I'm sorry. Hi, Teresa.
I think to some extent we do store it and yes, we'll distribute it.
Yep, I was just curious in how they determine first come, first serve, how that all works.
They actually contacted the 3 social service agencies, Lewis, St. Lawrence, and Jefferson, and it basically was a first come, first serve. We actually partnered with Watertown and Remission, and the furniture that we got is being stored there, and we've got a voucher system working between the 2 agencies. We send individuals over there to get the furniture if they need assistance with transporting it. Urban Mission has the ability to do that too.
So as far as determination of the individuals, I know it's hard. You probably got a lot of people that want it. Is there a certain criteria?
Yes. Yep. I actually worked with the county attorney on this also. It really has to be distributed to individuals that we would normally serve. So our voucher system really identifies people that would be eligible for assistance through our agency and under 20% of the poverty level.
So you'd be talking about the individuals that would be on safety net program
rather than family assistance, SNAP, Medicaid.
Is there more of a priority as, if they have kids, don't have kids, or, just random? I don't know how often you get asked for it, but I'm sure there's quite a need out there for it.
First come, first serve.
Same with ours. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I expect that this is something that we'll be seeing more of down the road, I presume, quite rather regularly. If that's the case, if it's going to be regular donations that the county will be receiving, is it going to require resolutions every single time? or is there possibly a way that,
That's a good question. I think the short answer is yes, it probably would, because we're receiving something that wasn't in any way, shape, or form planned for in the budget process, and there's a value associated with it. I think likely what we would do, though, is not every time we get a donation, but maybe bundle it like once a year,
Yeah.
or something along that line, so it's not
Make it
going to
more
happen every month
practical.
anyway, but in a more organized fashion. This is the first go-around for the new program, but likely we would do something like that.
save on paperwork? Yeah, very good. Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Next is amending the 2017 Comprehensive Planning Resource Allocation Agreement with the New York State Office of Children and Family Services and authorizing amended contractual youth program agreements in relation thereto.
Motion, please. Mr. Drake, second, Mr. Neblonic. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing 2018 Comprehensive Planning Resource Allocation Agreement with the New York State Office of Children and Family Services and authorizing contractual youth program agreements.
Motion, please. Mr. Drake, second, Mr. Dodo. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Amending the 2018 county budget relative to additional revenue from New York State Office of Children and Family Services for sexually exploited youth funding.
Motion, please. Mr. Dodo, second, Mr. Ferris. Any discussion? I will note that this is a new program. Oh, that's all that there is for that. Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
We now do have one new item that we would like to add in terms of resolution, and we distributed to you earlier, amending the 2018 county budget in relation to the Department of Social Services.
Motion, please. Mr. Ferris, second, Mr. Drake. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have some departmental reports within your packet. Any questions on those? Any other items to come before the committee? Thank you very much for the department heads that are in attendance tonight. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Drake, second, Mr. Ferris.
might be a couple of minutes before I get to that slide. I don't know if you want, I'll give you like a nod and...
I'd like to call the February meeting of the Finance and Rules Committee to order. And before we get into our business tonight, I'd like to introduce Marshall Weir from the JCED. He's Director of Marketing, and I guess he's going to do a presentation on
what we got going on.
What we got going on.
What we got going on. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you everyone for taking a couple of minutes here. I'm going to start with, this was the presentation that I gave when I first started rebranding Jefferson County IDA, Jefferson County Local Development Corporation, Jefferson County Job Development Corporation, Jefferson County Civic Facilities Development Corporation, under the umbrella of Jefferson County Economic Development. This I did at the end of 2014, and as I was prepping for this presentation, I was like, hey, there's a lot of kind of interesting things here that, was a point in time of where we were then, and then I had to show kind of where we're at now. And I also thought that my presentations were a lot flashier back then than they are now, which is, I don't know, like new and everything else. But this is the presentation that I gave, and we're going to successfully budget the marketing capital and rebrand the LDC and the IDA into Jefferson County Economic Development and increase public awareness of our activities. I'll try to slow down. I'm going to try to not talk so fast here, but so this was the table of contents, and I had a whole note section on each slide, but again, I just kind of wanted to go through the programs of rebranding, the advertisements, event sponsorship that we do, our Canadian initiative, and that was probably the first time I ever said that and wrote it down, and then the targeted industries and sort of proposals of what we're going to do. Description of programs, advertising programs, event sponsorship, website and social media, the Canadian initiative, and the direct public interaction, mostly through the sponsorships and things like that. So, this was our old building, which some of you may remember. Our new place is just to the left of it. But Jefferson County Economic Development, it's set it right above our door for years and years before we sort of decided, hey, let's not reinvent the wheel here. This is what we need to be called. This was our logo. This was the first sort of iteration that we did. You'll notice that, again, it's very similar in font and style and color, although I did change that a little bit since then to what we had, the IDA and the LDC. This was an advertisement that we did, and you'll notice that I greatly improved our map. That was from some drum country stuff that we all do together. We're part of the drum country group, and the key points. So, a lot of that hasn't really changed much. Fort Drum, our workforce, direct access to Canada, foreign trade zones and tax incentives changed a little bit. Diversified industrial base and low-cost power, abundant water, which, come to find out, places that we compete against, abundant water is something that we really have. That places in the Mid-Atlantic states and the South, that's an issue, and something that I hadn't really thought of until we started sort of comparing ourselves. Here's another advertisement. Seamlessly integrating agriculture with what we're doing. Jay Madison is in our office now, doing an awesome job. He has his Come Farm With Us website, which has been redeveloped probably about 2 years ago, but it's great. obviously social media. This is event sponsorship with E-Day Entrepreneurship at Jefferson Community College. That kid won $1,000 for his business plan. Now we've changed that a lot. You know, $1,000 might not necessarily really be appropriate for this kind of stuff, but that was what we were working with at the time. And but it's a great program, that E-Day business modeling competition. You know, obviously we're going to leverage Canada, United States. I thought it was kind of a funny slide. You know, targeted industries, and this is all Jefferson County said stuff. Manufacturing, tourism. You know, you can read all that stuff. It's just from the SEDS, straight up. Then supporting with the workforce, entrepreneurship, infrastructure, you know, in infrastructure being utilities and important things to get to business parks and to really make shovel-ready possible. Proposal, you know, obviously attractive location for business industry, framing Jefferson County, rebrand into Jefferson County Economic Development, track what we're doing. You know, a lot of the stuff that we're doing now is straight through analytics. You know, how we're handling our leads and you know, everything appropriate, advertising response, are people reacting to it, and are we staying on target of what our goals are? You know, and how we're going to test them, businesses tracked, business formation, retained, job loss, gain by sector, a lot of that stuff I was getting for a while out of an NY Business magazine. Some of the stuff that we don't, you know, gallon price of milk, you know, all sorts of stuff. In summation, consistent brand image, seamlessly integrate agriculture, Jefferson County, Jeffco has bridged United States markets, and continue to identify metrics for communication brand performance. So I thought that was just kind of as a snapshot of where we were moving from 2014 into 2015. And I looked at it and I thought, hey, you know, I think that the group might want to see sort of where we're at, you know, then and where we're at now. So, go back over here, and this is today. Now, a lot of this, you know, I'm going to continue to talk about, and it's really critical. You know, there's our logo. I was pleased to be introduced as the Director of Marketing of Jefferson County Economic Development. Dave and I and Don and you know, we would like to we use Jefferson County Economic Development as our DBA, and you know, we'd like to change that just as our the name of our agency. Started the discussion on our always exciting rebrand, which has gone wonderfully. You know, I will admit though that when I'm talking to people out in Jefferson County, especially people that I've known for a long time, and they say, "Oh, you know, what are you doing now?" I say, "I work at the IDA," and a certain segment of the population, they all know the IDA. But if you go down maybe 35 and under, those people, oh, what's the IDA? What does that mean? You know, what? You know, tell me. Okay, Jefferson County Economic Development. We do economic development for Jefferson County. Very simple. Started in the 70s, as you know, Jefferson County Industrial Development Agency. Show you a little bit about all of the different stuff. Local Development Corporation, the IDA, Civic Facilities Development Corporation, and Jefferson County Job Development Corp. Known for years as the ABC's agencies, I should say. And now, as you saw, our new logo. Nice little shimmer there. We feel it's been really well received. Again, it's a cleaner look. Goal clearly defined in the logo. No change in font or color. That's important. And it's a natural evolution, building on the past. We're not reinventing the wheel here, but we're pleased with it. Again, where did the genius come up with it? It was above the door. Marketing in the economic development space. We market Jefferson County as a place to start, relocate, and most importantly, grow businesses already here. We sell our community to prospective employers and business people. Local businesses want to feel appreciated, and prospects want to know why Jefferson County makes the most sense to locate their business here. But again, most job growth will take place with the businesses that are already here. which is why we spend the bulk of our time helping local businesses solve the issues that they are facing. Here's some advertisements. The one on the far left is for the tourism guide. These some banner advertisements, as well as some roll-up trade show banners that some of you will probably see at the economic forecast breakfast tomorrow morning. You know, we're driving economic development. We talk about the business complex, which is the airport business park. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. I manage that through Hootsuite. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Hootsuite, but through Hootsuite, basically, they manage all of our social media, and I can do one post, and it'll hit everything. So instead of having to do 3 separate posts, it does that for you. It's just faster. You can also time things. If doing a social media post at 3 o'clock on a Friday is not great, but I could, if I have a piece of information that might not be super, hot or whatever, I can schedule it for, Monday at 10, when people might be getting back to us, or more likely about 7:30. Some additional advertisements. You may have seen the Jefferson County Agriculture highway sign that we had. We actually had 2 of them, and they were up for close to a year, and the best part was we only had to pay for 4 months. So they don't replace them until they have something else to put up. So that worked out great. And I got a lot of feedback on the business complex at Watertown International logo. We're very proud of that. Again, it's very similar to the Watertown International logo, but it's different. We're psyched. I think it's great. Did a little bit of crowd think space with the Jefferson Leadership Institute. So they helped me choose the logo. This next one is our considering expansion. Oh, sorry about that. Jefferson County. Let me go back. This is a YouTube targeted campaign for Canada. Some of you may have seen our Jefferson County Economic Development commercial. We do it a little bit, but this is targeted through YouTube in Canada. Business leaders, people making over $70,000 in Toronto, Kingston, Gananoque, along the 401, as well as in Ottawa, the western side of Ottawa. This is what considering expansion into U.S. markets, Jefferson County Economic Development has assisted numerous North Country businesses in expanding and creating jobs. We offer a variety of financial and tax incentives and can aid in startup, expansion, and retention projects. How can Jefferson County Economic Development help you? 315-782-5865. Visit growwithjeffersoncounty.com. Couple things about that. So that has been seen in its entirety 140,000 times in Canada. The beauty about a YouTube campaign is that we're only billed if someone watches the entire commercial. We've all been on YouTube. You search for something, a video comes up, and you're able to hit skip ad after 5 seconds. So the key here is get your hook out in the first 5 seconds. So we're getting a lot of free, considering expansion to U.S. markets. That's it. That's what, if you're considering it, you're going to be inclined to watch it. And actually, our analytics show that people have a tendency to watch this ad through more so than a lot of them. I know that 0.01 doesn't sound like a great turnover number, but it is actually. If you consider, I guess that'd be, 1% of 1% of 1%. Watching a YouTube commercial, which I don't know if I've ever actually watched an entire YouTube commercial, except for our own, of course. So it's great, and it's just been an inexpensive way to hit our target, and so we're very pleased with how that's going. So the website, this was our former mobile look. That is my a screenshot, and it's been greatly improved, optimized. Our website really is wonderful, and mobile optimized, and it's great. We won last year a Excellence in Marketing Award from the New York State EDC, and that was based on our website as well as our companion website, Bridge to US Biz, which is a Canadian-oriented landing page. So when someone clicks on Learn More on the YouTube campaign, it takes them to Bridge to US Biz, and I'll just kind of read a little bit about this. But over the last 3 years, Jefferson County Economic Development has deployed 2 new websites, each targeted at different audiences to be the backbone of the marketing program. The websites act as a landing spot for information for businesses looking to relocate or expand into Jefferson County, New York. In 2017, Jefferson County Economic Development was presented for excellence in marketing for their newly deployed Bridge to USBiz.ca website. This marketing tool is targeted to Canadian neighbors to better access information on expanding into Jefferson County. Talk a little bit about our targeted European marketing program. So we have been working with Euromarket Development Services, which is a site selection consultant, focused mainly on Germany in the past, but it's interesting how it hasn't gone that way. And as you work through these things, the bulk of our leads have come from countries, actually everyone but Germany. I say everyone, a lot of them. But it's designed to help achieve regional goals in Jefferson County's comprehensive economic development strategy. SEDS, again, if I'm looking for a direction, that's what it's for, and we're using it. The program focuses on industries and growth business sectors compatible with our region, like agriculture, manufacturing, food processing, Can-Am trade, key, and then, again, anything supply chain for any of these areas as well. And I have to thank National Grid for sponsoring this program, because otherwise we would not be able to afford it. And it's been wonderful. I had 2 phone conversations with some of our leads. I spoke with 2 of our leads last week, and looking forward to meeting up with them in New York City in the spring. We've already met with 3 of them face-to-face, and that's been wonderful. I know that talk is cheap, but they say all the right things to make you think that it works. And we've done a good job of sort of weeding out what's going to work and what we think makes the most sense. We're not going after pharmaceutical companies or medical devices. We're going after agriculture things, robotic milking businesses, food processing, whether it be dairy or non-dairy, things that would fit in our economy. And we also have the workforce for manufacturing. We make this target, so at least it's not coming out of left field. These things, these companies, every single one of them that we would consider a hot lead could move here and be successful. Access to major markets all along the East Coast. So it's great. It's been a great program, and it will continue to be. We're going to be doing that through 2018, at least. We do community and sponsorship, these events and programs. The Business of Women Conference through the Small Business Development Center up at JCC. GPS for Success, which is a software program that we're doing through WPBS. They're taking the lead on this. It's for middle school kids to help them get sort of a day in the life of a possible career for their future. These are workforce things. These are critical. Every business that has any chance of coming here, or local businesses expanding here, having the people is critical. Career Jam, there's 2,000 students at the last one at the new Ice Arena. It's wonderful. There's many businesses throughout Jefferson County, as well as St. Lawrence County, Lewis County, and I believe we drew some students from the Oswego area as well. They get to meet with businesses that they have a table and they talk about what they're doing with the students, and it's a great opportunity for them. Again, it's kind of day in the life of what are we going to do for our career. hands-on. Workforce 2020, which I'm sure many of you have seen what the program there is. Really, that's a interview skills and resume building program for the students. This is their first opportunity, again, to be interviewed for a job and have someone in that position tell them the things they need to do to, again, position themselves for it. Manufacturing Day took many students throughout some of our larger businesses here. What do we have? Over 1,000 students that visited businesses throughout. That's more of a regional program. And again, E-Day through JCC, which has now been reframed as the Business Symposium, and that continues to be a great program. Does anybody have any questions? I know that I sort of covered a lot of the stuff. I hope I wasn't talking too fast. I have a tendency to do that, but we're psyched what we're doing. Yeah.
How many actual hits, calls, or leads have you been generating from the social media, YouTube advertising? It's the internet-based advertising.
It is. It's internet-based. Now, the YouTube program alone was 140,000 hits. So those would be all ones that clicked on it, and went to our Bridge to US Biz website. But then, and all of our headings there, they take us back to the flagship website, where all of our information. I track those, in preparation for our board meetings, but hundreds of thousands of hits. And it's more than just the YouTube campaign, because we do, again, we have our banner advertisements that are targeted. Some of them local. Some of them they're on News Junkie, or they're on the Watertown Daily Times website. Again, I'm trying to get away from the print ads, although sometimes we do some of that. But then we also have banner advertisements that are targeted towards the Canadian market. That's not the YouTube campaign. These are just ones that would go on websites, and hundreds of thousands of hits. Especially over the course of, we've been doing that, the banner advertisements, going on 2 years now. The YouTube campaign started in June of 2017.
So out of that, then, how many actual physical contacts you get out of that number?
Now, well, typically, the number is out of every 73 visits to your website, you're supposed to get a call. We don't get nearly that many. Typically, they'll go through and check. It's interesting, the web pages that they actually go to, they'll check our, obviously taxes and the financing and all that kind of stuff. The data, information, our demographics, those are critical stuff. But as far as phone calls from them, we get a couple a week. But then again, it's those become, as soon as we talk to somebody, a good example would be EasyStack, which is a Kingston company that relocated to the corporate park. I believe they're opening this week. Yeah. So just use them as an example of somebody we sort of track down, and that's sort of a win for us on that. We're getting the information on.
Another question I had to deal with, and you touched with it some on the European connections, the marketing going on there.
Yeah.
I've talked with Jay Madison before in the past about it, but I guess what is really the target on the European side of things to try to bring over to our area?
What is the target?
Yeah, what particular industry type of,
yeah.
What kind of development are you really searching for?
Well, we took the lead on the SEDS, as well as things that we sort of thought that would work for this program. Let me get back to that page here. Agriculture, dairy and non-dairy, food processing of any sort, Can-Am trade, anything supply chain in these areas as well. It started out, we really used the robotic milking sector as a sort of a test case, and that was a toughie. A couple of them, there's giant ones. Laval, I don't know if you've heard of.
You have Lely, GEA, they're the two biggest ones. Laval is trying to catch up.
Well, we targeted those to start, to to see if that was going to be, and of course, they're all of the ones that would spurn not only their own business, but then supply chain stuff. They're locating, they've all done it here. Oh, well, we just moved to the United States 2 years ago, for instance. One of them had moved to Madison, Wisconsin, or something like that. So, we looked at, it's interesting because our best leads have all been agriculture related. I don't want to get too specific on them, but both dairy and non-dairy side, and food processing. We've had a couple of electronics companies that are farm-based, so they're distributorships for things like electrified fencing and and farm equipment and things like that. So it's interesting how, I sort of started it being like, okay, well, there might be some manufacturing businesses, and as well, obviously, if it's a robotic milking company, that's a manufacturing. I mean, it doesn't even matter really what they're making. The actual product itself has to fit what we're going for, but it means a lot less to me than just the fact that they're doing something. So.
Just add quickly, Marshall touched on it earlier, but in terms of targets, the consistency there, kind of building on where our strengths are, that Marshall touched on earlier, was our access to Canada, so we're so close to the bridge, the ag production that we have, and also one of the reasons we look at ag food processing is the abundant water we have up here. That's really a big factor for a lot of companies in food processing, is that abundant water supply, the quality water that's hard to find right there.
And one other thing that I want to mention with that, this program started, like I said about Germany, because we have 7 or 8 German companies here, and thinking that, okay, we get a little bit of a critical mass, and some of them, we're going to target it towards Germany to start, and all of them know Knorr-Bremse. It's an enormous company that owns New York Air Brake. The owner there is the 11th richest man in Europe. So it's more of it'd be like a GE kind of thing, here, where, and he's sort of a interesting person. So it started off as okay, well, we have a Knorr-Bremse manufacturing facility here, so, any German manufacturing in that same space might be a good fit, or a supply chain business for that. But then as we started to look at it closer, we just weren't getting a whole lot of quality responses. And so, the agriculture, and Jay's hitting me over the head all the time, agriculture, as he's wont to do. And, so we focused on agriculture, and boy, we started getting some really good leads. And again, it's more, our 3 hottest ones are food processing in the dairy, and then 2 of them are dairy, and then 1 of them is non-dairy. They're businesses that, from the non-dairy side, which makes Jefferson County even more compelling, because there isn't the quota situation sending a non-dairy product up into Canada, and that makes us a perfect location for it, as well as access to New York State markets, and to say that we're to New York City markets, and to be, a New York plant, which holds weight in that market, as well as actually in Canada as well. I'm sorry if I didn't answer your question. Anything else?
No.
Anybody else have any other questions? All right. Thank you. And if anybody ever wants to talk about marketing, what we're doing here, give me a call, send me an email. I'm going to pass out my business card. Always like feedback on things that we're doing. If you have a great idea, let me know. If you got something, or if, we're all out in the community and we hear things about businesses that might be looking for a spot, give us a call. We have, on our website, all of the real estate stuff, and anything we can do to make it easy for businesses to grow in Jefferson County is what we're all about. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Marshall. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Moving on, is there anybody who wants to address the committee? If not, I guess any changes to the minutes of the meeting? Resolutions.
First resolution this evening is payment of legislator expenses.
Motion, please. Mr. Drake, Mr. Cantwell. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Next is amending the Jefferson County Administrative Policies and Procedures for Budget Modifications.
Motion, please. Mr. Nabownik, Mr. McBride. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Amending the 2017 county budget relative to the health benefits and workers' compensation funds.
Motion, please. Mr. Cantwell, Mr. Drake. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Appointing member to the Regional Fish and Wildlife Management Board.
Motion, Mr. McBride. Mr. Cantwell. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Next is appointing jail physician.
Motion, please. Mr. Cantwell, Mr. Drake. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Last resolution is amending the 2018 county budget and capital plan relative to Jefferson Community College.
A motion, please. Mr. McBride. Mr. Nabownik. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. General Services Committee sponsored resolutions.
There are 6 this evening. The first one, amending the 2017 county budget in relation to county road funds.
Motion, please. Mr. Cantwell, Mr. McBride. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Next, amending the 2017 county budget in relation to recycling and waste management.
Motion, please. Mr. Drake, Mr. Nabownik. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Accepting donation for Sheriff's Department K-9 unit and amending the 2018 county budget in relation thereto.
Motion, please. Mr. McBride. Mr. Cantwell. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Recognizing New York State Governor's Traffic Safety Committee Police Traffic Services Program grant and amending the 2018 county budget in relation thereto.
Motion, please. Mr. McBride, Mr. Nabownik. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Reappropriating funds from various unspent grants relative to the Sheriff's Department and amending the 2018 county budget in relation thereto.
Motion, please. Mr. Drake. Mr. Cantwell. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing intermunicipal agreement with the City of Watertown regarding the fiscal year 2017 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Program and amending the 2018 county budget.
Motion, please. Mr. McBride, Mr. Nabownik. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Health and Human Services Committee sponsored resolutions.
Again, there will be 6. Amending the 2018 county budget to reappropriate DSRIP funding and Community Services Department.
Motion, please. Mr. Cantwell, Mr. Drake. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Amending 2018 county budget to reappropriate funds and accepting additional 2018 funding for Veterans Peer Support Pilot Program.
Motion, please. Mr. McBride, Mr. Nabownik. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Third is amending the 2018 county budget to allocate additional state aid for community services and mental health programs.
Is there a motion, please? Mr. Cantwell, Mr. Drake. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
Amending the 2018 county budget to allocate additional state aid for community services programs and authorizing amended agreement in relation thereto.
Motion? Mr. McBride, Mr. Navaronic. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Passed.
Amending the 2018 county budget relative to additional revenue from the New York State Office of Children and Family Services for sexually exploited youth funding.
Motion? Mr. Drake. Mr. Cantwell. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
Last resolution is amending the 2018 county budget in relation to the Department of Social Services.
A motion, please. Mr. McBride, Mr. Cantwell. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Let's just recognize the revenue expenses and that sort of stuff. Yes.
After that. Okay. There are some reports in your packet. You had time to take a look at those. At this time, I'd like a motion from somebody on the floor to move into executive session to discuss some litigation. Mr. Drake, Mr. Nabowanek. No discussion on that, just a vote. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.